Thank you. So my name's A.B. Burns-Tucker. I'm known as I Am Legally Hype Online. And so my question is a little more elementary. The theme that we've heard often is that Ukraine is actually helping us with our democracy as well. This fight is, part of American democracy, and they're protecting us. So can you explain or kind of connect the dots for the American people on how does that work and how should we receive that?
I kind of touched on this earlier, but I'm happy to expand on it. I'm going to do this. There's several countries in the world today that bristle not only at American leadership, but in what we call the rules-based international order that we put in place after World War II. The UN, NATO, the IMF, and all the institutions that help us work collaboratively, collectively, and safely with nations around the world. This is what we call the rules-based order. Russia is one of those nations. And Russia has, because they built up over the course of the Cold War, significant military capabilities to try to force their will on the world order. And in this case, Ukraine, as I said, he has long historic animosity towards Ukraine. But again, they're not the only nation, but they are a nation capable and desirous of upending this world order that we put in place. And what I think, or what I hope Americans who study history take away from World War II is if you don't stand up to a dictator and a tyrant, they'll just keep going. Winston Churchill said it's like feeding the crocodile, hoping that he's going to eat you last. And we don't want to be in that position. Putin really only understands one thing, and that's strength, even though he's not projecting strength at all. And you can't back down. If we were to abandon our support for Ukraine, as I said earlier, he would march right up into Kyiv, and he would march right up to the western part of Ukraine, try to claim it all. He hasn't lost that goal, by the way. And that puts him right up against that eastern flank of NATO, which is now 2 more nations strong. And as I said, he has threatened NATO before. He believes that, again, warped sense of history. NATO is a defensive alliance. People sometimes, I don't think, completely understand that. There's no offensive designs about NATO. It's purely about defense. He doesn't believe that. He believes that NATO's intent, led by the United States, is to encircle and contain Russia and to eventually attack Russia. Or at least that's what he says he believes. That's not the case. But because he believes it, we have to take his rhetoric seriously. And he has threatened NATO allies. And if he goes after a NATO ally, that triggers Article 5, which is a mutual defense commitment. Article 5 says an attack on one is an attack on all. And then you really are in a war with Russia on the European continent, and potentially a cataclysmic war, because you're talking about a nuclear power. And a guy who has also been doing quite a bit of saber rattling on the use of those nuclear weapons. You said something interesting in your question about how the Ukrainians are protecting us. I don't think that's too far to say. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think because they're defending their democracy and they're doing it by themselves, the only thing they're asking from the United States and from the West and from NATO is the tools. Just give us the tools and we'll do the job. And they are, and they have been. They have defended their country nobly, and they've done it without any foreign troops in combat. If we just walk away from this and we just let Putin have what he wants, I won't be able to stand here and have that same conversation with you, because we'll be talking about American troops in a war with Russia on the European continent. And that kind of escalation, as I said, could be cataclysmic.